Erwan, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate you being here. Could you, for the people who may not know you, I know you, but for those who may not know you, could you just give us a little bit of your background, a little introduction to who you are, man?
Yeah, sure, Adam. Thanks for having me. I'm the founder of MoveNat. So for those who haven't heard about it yet, it's been 15 years. We've been teaching people how to move with efficiently, with competency, but move in the real world. So think about it as you can think about it as natural movement, which is a term I've coined to explain that the way we originally move is made of skills that we all have: jumping, crawling, hanging and climbing and running and all of that. And one way to become fit is to just practice all the skills in a way that's combined. And so I've created a method called MoveNat. So we teach people efficiency. It's a little like why would you go to, say, MMA Academy to learn techniques? It's because you don't learn to street fight. I mean, you could do that, but in the streets. So you go to a place, you learn techniques, and you learn to become efficient. So if you broaden that perspective to all the skills that are important to the real life, then there's a lot of techniques to learn. For instance, there's a variety of jumping techniques, not just one, because it depends on where you are, what kind of obstacles. All right, so we have a method for that called MoveNat. I brought it in the United States and to the United States, where I moved in 2009. So I'm also known as one of the OGs of that natural lifestyle. Like all the things that are seen today on the internet. So talking about grounding, earthing, barefoot movement. We're talking about intermittent fasting. We're talking about cold plunging, sunlight exposure. One of my first videos, you see me running through the woods, and I'm barefoot. And obviously, I took almost all of my clothes off. And the point was, get sunlight on your skin, be in nature. So all of those rewilding, biohacking things that are now niches within a niche of alternative healthy lifestyle. Well, I showed all of this already back in 2008, back in 2009.
That's
So
awesome, man.
I do that, and I have a team. We teach workshops worldwide. And what else? I'm also known more recently for something called breath hold work, where I teach people how to hold their breath for a very long time through meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Or reversely, you could say I teach people to meditate by holding their breath. And I hold one of the US national records for breath holding, static breath holding, with an official 7 minutes and a half. But my personal best sits at more than 8 minutes. So that, I see you're surprised. Maybe you haven't heard of it yet.
Well, first of all, it's 7.5 minutes officially. It's ridiculous. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I'm definitely interested in talking about that. MoveNat, I mean, what's interesting, and I kind of geeked out a little bit when we were on Instagram a little bit, because you are what would be considered an originator in this space, especially
Sure.
revitalizing the
Yes.
grounding, the rewilding, the natural movement space. And then you've got guys like Ido Portal and some of these other guys who got into all this stuff. But I came across your first video back in 2009, the workout the world forgot, whatever.
Nice.
And that I literally was like, first of all, I come from like a television background. So I did television and video and all this stuff. So I was like, first of all, this video is beautiful.
Thank
Number
you.
one. And then two, this dude, he's in pretty good shape and he's running through the woods doing all this like kind of primal stuff. It looks awesome. And I think it opened up people's minds to, oh wait, there is kind of this history of humanity that we've forgotten. And um, I think it really set a trajectory for what we see today, which is like what you're saying, which is grounding and the biohacking and kind of
Yes.
getting back to nature and all this other stuff. But let me ask you, what inspired you to go this route, this natural movement route. Because when I first saw you, you know, I remember reading an article. I'm a bit of a researcher, so like I tend to dive deep on people. So people would be like, "How did you even know about that?" But I just would read whatever. And I remember at some point, I remember hearing you put something like you would carry around like Olympic weights in your car or something like that, and you would like maybe take workout equipment with you to places. So, did you do traditional workouts at one point and then get into natural movement? Is that what happened?
So that's yeah, that and me other things that I want to share here. So first off, it's a little the story of my life because my dad took me in the woods where I grew up in back in France near Paris. It was like a little like a mini Fontainebleau. Those you know Fontainebleau is like the mecca of rock climbing in France.
Beautiful, man.
So I had like a mini version of it right next to our house. And so my dad would take me and my brother and my sister, and we would hike up and down those hills. We would climb trees. We would run down the hills, and we would also climb those big boulders and jump from one to the next. Sometimes some of them had like little tunnels, so we crawl through. And we were not only allowed to go in the woods on our own, we are encouraged to do so. Like don't sit there and watch TV. By the way, we only had like black and white TV, two channels, only part of a day. And the shows for kids, that was maybe an hour a day, or less than that.
Man,
Back then, we're talking about France in the 70s. So by the way, I'm 52, almost 53.
you look awesome, dude.
Well, thank you. But there's a lifestyle for this. There's a lifestyle
Mhm.
for being healthy or staying healthy and also being physically capable. So that lifestyle was already there. That lifestyle, at least, I mean, it wasn't perfect. For instance, whether, it's not like I ate perfect, but definitely I ate much better than what a modern diet typically is, especially here in the United States. Anyways, but spend a lot of time outdoors, spend a lot of time being outside, spend a lot of time challenging myself with my siblings or my friends. Hey, who can climb up there? Who could jump that? And that's the formation or formative years. And then later on, I also did judo and a few other sports, but later on, I met some kind of a weird man who became a bit of my guru, and we did some pretty epic things, trainings in Paris. So we're talking about from 19 years old to 26. So we're talking about scaling Notre Dame de Paris. We're talking about sneaking in the Louvre Museum at night. We're talking about feeding wolves in the zoo of Vincennes in Paris or next to Paris, like doing some pretty incredible things like that, climbing up on top of bridges and training balancing and hanging and like over heights and Thai boxing in the underground of Paris, plunging into the Seine River in the winter,
Mhm.
freezing cold, no equipment, no life raft. Okay, so and doing all of that on fasted state, barefoot at night. So it's kind of like a different, special forces training without all
Mhm.
the weaponry.
Mhm.
But very, very unique, Shaolin training, but without the tradition or like it was very, very epic. And then later on, after also I practiced a number of sports like Olympic weightlifting and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and long distance triathlon and did some rock climbing and sailing and parkour, you name it. Um, well, I decided that it was time to do something with all of that experience. And that's when I discovered the history of physical education in
Mhm.
Europe, especially. And it's a long line of people. And it was my voila moment. I realized, okay, So people used to not know better. They didn't have bodybuilding, exercise, exercise machines,
Mm-hmm.
all of that before Charzy, before Jane Fonda and aerobic. So how did people train?
Hmm.
Well, since they didn't know better, they trained for what is this?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I think it has to do with the
I have
gesture.
no idea where this comes from.
It's
But
on Zoom.
that was
Crazy.
spectacular. That was a spectacular moment. So yeah, I was talking about that voila moment. That's maybe what triggered it. I don't know.
Probably.
I decided that it was high time to bring back those old ways of physical training into the modern time. And so what were those old ways? Remember, they did not know better. So what did they want to train for? Some of them already wanted to train for beautiful aesthetic physiques.
Mm-hmm.
That's a universal concern. The Greeks were after it, but the way they went after it, they didn't have exercise machines. They didn't practice um, muscle isolation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you mention, well, did you ever train traditional ways? Those ways are not traditional, my friend. Those are new. Those are like baby ways of training, like on the scale of the history of physical
Mm-hmm.
fitness, physical training. Those are very modern ways of training. For most of the history of physical training, that did not exist. So the real traditional ways of physical training were people trained for the real life and the real world. That meant they wanted to be able to climb a ladder or climb a rope or climb a wall or balance on some narrow surface or lift and carry objects, including human bodies, run fast, run for distance. How did the ancient Greeks train? For the Olympics, what were their Olympic strength based on? Training for military feats, battlefield kind of things. You gotta run, and you gotta run with a shield, heavy shield. You have to throw a disc, you have to throw a javelin. You have to grapple and throw punches and kicks, etc., etc. So their approach to being fit was train the real movements, try to replicate the scenarios and the context, which means the environment where those physical efforts and actions must be taken, and become good at it. So there was no, I mean, there was the strength and conditioning was that. So it was skills based. Number one, skills, movements. What do you need to do in the real life? Like they were not like targeting upper body, leg day, upper body one day, leg day the next day, or this is good for such kinetic chain or functional pattern, whatever. They don't give a shit about that because they had no clue about it. All they knew is, well, can you run? Can you run on that kind of terrain? Can you jump over that kind of obstacle? Can you transition from that type of effort to the next? And the only way they had to verify if they were capable of doing those things were to train those things directly. That is the traditional way of physical education. And I then decided to bring this back based on all my experience since I was a kid in the woods, later on training in Paris. Then I incorporated in that some of the lessons learned from special ed sports, because there are also lessons to be learned from special ed sports or even traditional practices like karate or other methods like this. Means what's the most efficient technique. I'm not saying that back in the days they didn't know about technical efficiency. I bet they did. But let's say that there wasn't let's say a lineage where we could have like today an e-course, PDF, videos, something, right? So we don't know how they exactly trained those skills. Was it, but I suspect that they were not just clumsy
Yeah.
or not really caring about efficiency. It's not like that they wanted to waste their time and energy on being uh, guys that just use brute force.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here we are, 2009, and I'm bringing this to the United States. And it's been 15 years now. I've trained SEALs. I've trained, we've certified thousands of people around the world on how to teach these techniques to other people
Incredible.
and to make it a basis
Awesome.
for their physical training.
That's awesome, man. So I fully appreciate your correcting me on tradition versus,
That's
traditional.
okay.
But no. I like it's true. We think of like lifting weights as traditional type of training, and somehow natural movement being this
New
odd
thing.
stepchild kind of thing, right? Like, but honestly, moving like a human being has always been the
Yeah,
objective, correct? And then
yeah.
specialization is what turns people into things that look a little less more like an efficient human being, right? So
Mhm.
I've been following it for a while, and I've even honestly I was trying to attend one of the MoveNat sessions. I think they had one in Central America. It was years ago. I couldn't make the time happen. So, but I've always been fascinated with it because one of the things that I noticed so much, especially in our society today, is that people just don't move well at all. Like they don't like all you have to do is go to any shopping mall, sit down for a minute and watch the number of people who just have trouble walking, much less performing any type of dynamic movement. So it is a huge need. So it's honestly terrifying to watch some people move. But what are you seeing response wise to this?
What's my response to
No,
this?
what are you seeing? Are you seeing people responding to this revitalization of traditional movement? Are you finding
Oh
people
yeah, of
interested in
course.
it?
I mean, this is why Adam, this is why we've been as a fitness company. Typically the longevity is not great. We've been doing this for 15 years. So soon we'll be doing this for 2 decades.
Wow,
So there's a pretty
impressive.
long, lifespan for any fitness concept out there because you know how it's mostly based on trends and trends come and go. Oh, there's that new protocol, there's that new program, and it's all the rage for a year, two, five, and then something
Mm-hmm.
else. Next, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this, what we're talking about, this is the physical education program you wish you had learned in school.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
What?
Because every, yep.
No, I was going to say, what are so for people who may not understand, what are the basic movement patterns we're talking about here, right? I mean, everybody knows running, right? You need to be able to run,
Yes,
probably
yeah.
jump, but what are the when you break it down for a person who's new, like let's say I show up at your training and I'm just like Mr. Guy who just I've been doing curls for the
Yes.
last 30 years and I don't know how to move. I know how to pick up weights, but what are those movements? What is expected of my body?
Yes. So this is a great question. Um, Again, think real world, real life, real world.
Okay.
Out there, when shit hits the fan, what do you need to do? Not biceps curls, not mobilize your joints, whatever, a flexibility, mobility drill. You don't play a specialized sports either. You don't play ping pong. You don't do a yoga. You don't take a yoga pause. I'm not saying that there is no value in any of those diverse practices. There is, but practical applications, practicality. Do you have practical movement skills, and the specific conditioning that supports those practical skills. And what is a skill? For instance, jumping, is jumping a skill? Can be, but can be not. Let me explain. Jumping is a natural ability. It's one of those natural abilities. But just because anyone can jump to a degree, like, 1 foot forward, doesn't mean that everybody possesses the skill of jumping. Because if you haven't trained the whole scope of jumping techniques and in diverse environments, then you can maybe jump 1 foot, 2 feet forward, more or less efficiently, but it's just an instinctive, natural, universal ability. It's not a skill. All right, so to be efficient in the real world, again, when shit hits the fan, there's a diversity of skills that you may need, also a diversity of specific physiological adaptations that you may need. So maybe you'll need to sprint. Maybe you'll need to run not too fast, but for 10 miles without stopping. Right? Maybe you'll need to balance over or across an obstacle, a fallen tree, the ledge of a wall, so that you can reach safety. Maybe you'll need to jump, then step on the wall and reach high, climb. Maybe you'll be hanging, you'll need to climb on top of the bar, top of the surface. Maybe you'll need to jump depth, and from that height, roll and sprint. Maybe you'll need to jump from that rock to the next rock, and you have 1 shot. And if you miss, you crash, and only you crash and maybe, I don't know, break an ankle. You're falling into the river. All right, so now we're not talking about what we do in a gym, even though we can certainly replicate some of those skills in a gym to prepare for them. But ultimately, it's about what you can do outdoors. When the ancient warriors practiced before the battlefield, it was so that they could be the ones slaying and not be slayed on the battlefield. So they tried probably to make it safe enough so that they wouldn't kill themselves in training, but also realistic enough so that it did look like what you would encounter on the battlefield. So the battlefield is one example of a real life, real world environment. Back then, it was very important. I think firefighters, what are the skills they need? They need to have that balancing skills, jumping and landing, climbing, lifting odd objects, doing all kind of things. All right, so now the question. Let's say you train in a gym, you train in that so-called traditional way, which is actually a very modern way of training.
For sure.
And then you realize, wait a minute, that doesn't mean that I can perform well in the real world, because I may have strong legs, but doesn't mean that I can run or run with efficiency, doesn't mean that I can jump and land with efficiency, etc. So what's missing here? The softwares, the skills. So have you learned them? Where do you learn them? We teach that.
Mm.
And as you train that, then you also develop specific physiological adaptations for that. So can you add also strength and conditioning? Yeah, we also have that in our system, because we can break down any movement and do reps and sets to become stronger at that particular segment of movement, which means going to be stronger in a particular part of the body or particular chain. All right. So it's a mindset thing, Adam. The mindset is, do I want to be ready for situations, some predictable, some unpredictable, but situations of the real world, of the real life, or not? Do I value this or not? Basically, is my fitness just for the looks, and maybe also to a degree for the health and the function, but mostly for the aesthetics? Or am I looking at what my fitness can do? Can I operate my body in a diversity of ways with efficiency and effectiveness or not? And it's not an assumption, it's something you need to know. And how do you know it? Well, you need to train and you need to verify if you're ready or not. So it's a preparedness. Do you value it or not? If you don't, then just keep, doing biceps curls and all these like bodybuilding things. Look at yourself in the mirror, take selfies, be satisfied. That's fine. It's cool. But if you want to push a little the envelope, which is your envelope and your mindset and your realism and your preparedness, then you try MoveNat. That's the name of it,
Mm.
of the method.
I found this one. Thank you for that explanation, because um, it's very obvious to me, because I like you've mentioned martial arts quite a bit. You've done judo, you did Thai boxing. I think you've said Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. I've been doing it for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
And there is a huge adaptation and learning process when it comes to jiu-jitsu in general, because it is so outside of the scope of what most people are used to, right?
Yep.
So I regularly have guys. So I came in as, kind of a bodybuilder, big guy, and immediately people are like, "Oh, well, you'll be good at it." And I'm like, "I was horrible. It was terrible. I moved like a bag of bricks." I mean, I literally looked like a bag of bricks rolling around. Um, and regularly we have guys come in who are really strong, and we destroy them because they literally, like you said, they don't have the software. We're asking their body to do something that it is unprepared to do. Um,
Yes.
and neurologically, they're trying to do the thing, but their body won't even do it properly. So
Even the hardware, if we use that metaphor, like the body physically, yeah, is strong, but strong in a very specific way, and they may not have the mobility, they don't have coordination, they don't have the resiliency, they don't have the specific uh, energy systems, all of that. And yeah, so
I agree.
what
I've had guys come in, they could do curls with, 135 pounds, but then distally detach a bicep by just resisting an armbar, right? Like bicep just curls up inside,
um,
just because you pulled on their arm a little bit, So it's
no,
extremely
no, so a
interesting.
lot of reality checks,
A lot of reality checks,
a
even for
lot of
myself.
reality checks.
A lot for
Yeah,
myself, which is why I've tried. It's one reason why I love talking with you,
no,
is because it became an interest for me to. I didn't want to be big and not move. I don't. I like, you like having an impressive physique, but you don't want to have a useless physique.
completely. And if you could have an impressive physique that is also impressive in the way it can perform,
Exactly.
that would be great. So thinking or talking about reality checks that you have experienced as a beginner when you started to train jiu-jitsu, and then but you always notice when you guys come in, and especially when they're strong looking or fit looking, like, wow, they're gonna do great. And typically, no, they won't, because, well, because it's a surface
Mm-hmm.
image of strength.
Mm-hmm.
Its strength and capability are not the same. You may have capability. If you're capable, you have strength is part of that. And the size of your muscles does not matter. You can see plenty of guys who are big looking, not particularly strong proportionally, and guys that are leaner and very strong. So um, it's not exactly the same, but you can be strong looking and even strong in, say, lifting. But a simple hike in the woods or run in the woods is going to destroy you. A simple transition from standing to the ground and back is going to destroy you. You won't be able to do it the moment you're like, hey, wait, you cannot use your hands. How do you do it? And then you see people getting stiff and clumsy and slow, hold their breath, getting out of breath. Clearly, neurophysiologically, the motor control isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in their brain, so they cannot operate their body in those tangible ways with efficiency, with flexibility, with speed, with balance, with all of that. So reality check, that reality check that say a big guy, like a bodybuilding guy, is going to experience on the mat. Bring that to the whole rest, the whole scope of natural movement abilities, balancing, running, jumping, climbing, getting up, getting down, crawling, all of that. Then you have that reality check on steroids. And physically and mentally, I'm telling you, because I've seen it over and over and over, these guys will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Their sense of fitness, of strength will be just devastated. Again, quickly and easily. And it's still the message, 15 years later, still the message. And a lot of people still don't get it. Or, so number one, either they don't want to hear about it, or they've never heard about it. But when they hear about it, they may not want to actually step out of their comfort zone to see if that's true. Means like, wait, I feel strong. Don't ruin it for me.
Mm.
And some who do will make that realization very quickly. And from there, they decide if that's something they want to investigate and they want to become capable in all these different ways or not.
So would you kind of sum up MoveNat in a sense? If you could sum it up in like a basic, single statement, would it be kind of creating the capability to move well as a human being? Like, I mean,
So
how
yeah,
would you formulate?
that sounds good, but look,
I'm sure
a,
there's more to it.
a ballet dancer moves very well as a human being.
Mm,
A person who is into the, say, what's called a movement culture and is going to do their ground flow moves very well in that particular context. A boxer moves very well in the particular context of boxing, like a good boxer. A good tennis player moves very well in the context of other specialized sports. A yoga practitioner that has experience, lots of practice, moves very well, transitioning from one pose to the next
mm.
in that particular context.
So
So
would you say
moving,
that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Would you say that there's a statement inside of like physical culture, especially when it comes to bodybuilding, is that strength is specific, right? The the strength you have is specific to the way you train it. Is that kind of what you're getting at? Is that like a boxer moves really well because their movement is specific to what they're training? And then is that kind of how is that the
yeah,
line you're taking?
yeah, yes.
So you,
Like you said, you could do biceps curls with a lot of weight in the gym, but then you're gonna tear off your biceps, your tendons, your ligaments, whatever it is, just the muscles.
mhm,
In a jiu-jitsu grappling situation, because you're trying to defend yourself or trying to force a submission using literally brute strength, and your biceps have literally the tissues have those weaknesses that you did not even suspect. And so why is that? So those biceps are supposed to be very strong. We're giving here one example. We're not even talking about the whole body, shoulders, grip strength, everything is specific. So you have weaknesses everywhere that you don't even suspect. You don't even know they're there. And when you don't know a problem is there or a deficiency is there, something is missing that you don't know. So you don't address it. It's not a problem. If these big guys with big biceps knew that their biceps can actually be fragile when used in a completely different way, in different context, from biceps curls in the gym to using your biceps in a grappling situation, if they knew that, how would they address the problem?
Um, I would say most guys would continue, if most guys in that state would basically try to adapt their weightlifting to help try to fix that issue.
Exactly. So the answer wouldn't be, well, have to do more biceps curls,
Exactly, right.
of
Just
more
different ones.
weight
I
or
got to do
more
different
reps
ones.
and sets. That wouldn't make any sense.
It's true.
Because clearly, not only did it not prevent the problem from occurring, maybe it actually made the problem to exist in the first place. Because typically, and I know you've probably noticed that, guys who don't go to the gym tend to be a little more nimble and attending that they're, healthy, overall healthy, decently healthy. They tend to have less injuries than guys that look stronger, but they're stiffer. They use their strength in completely inefficient ways, in the wrong place at the wrong time for the wrong duration, the wrong kind of tension. There are rules to the way, or principles to the way you efficiently use the strength that you have. And then your tissues have to be ready in many ways. So are these people ever hanging and swinging and like do you have all these range of motion and the strength that go with it in different angles? And no, well, because they are very specialized. They're gym specialized. Even the machines dictate the exact range of motion that they can go for and should go for, not beyond. Okay, so they're shaped by, their bodies are shaped by the dictatorship of the exercise machinery. I don't want to be hard. I don't want to be mean. Just making observations. You've
Sure.
made those
Of course.
observations. You've seen both sides of the spectrum. Gym training and more say organic ways.
Mm-hmm.
So organic. I mean, we're talking about more natural ways, more practical and adaptable ways of using the human body, the way it's originally intended to be used. So
That's interesting. Yeah, I think we would.
different mindset, huh?
Yeah, I think we could say we're not saying one is necessarily useless, like going to the gym is useless or anything. We're just clarifying the difference between the two, right?
Yeah, I
Of
love deadlifts. I love heavy
course,
squats. I occasionally can do biceps curls. Why not?
they make your arms look good. Like who cares?
Guys, I don't really don't obsess on that because I don't care. But um, just for a change,
Mhm.
there are so many movements that can be trained.
Mhm.
But most importantly, um, well, you need to understand there are a lot of movements, natural movements. I mean, look, the reason why you can do deadlifts or pull-ups or heavy squats in the gym, what's the reason? Because you have
Uh,
a human body.
yeah, you're basically loading or exploiting normal human patterns of movement.
Yes. And why are those natural human patterns of movement are there?
I mean,
Since then are they there?
what do you mean? Clarify.
How long have those movements or those
Forever, as
movement
long
possibilities have been around?
as long as we've been humans.
Since the dawn of mankind. So dawn of mankind, we're talking about a long time ago. Where did they live? What did they do for a living?
They survived. They lived life.
They survived. They only survived when they had to survive. Otherwise, they would be thriving. They would be okay. They would be fine living in nature. So why is it that they had those movement abilities? Because that's the way the human species evolved to move, so that we could survive as a species and keep going in nature and wild environment. What did we need to do in those wild environments? We need to hike, we need to run, we need to climb, sometimes we need to lift and carry heavy things. That could be somebody in the tribe who is hard. That could be you killed a massive animal and you have a lot of game and you need to bring it back to the camp. Okay, so you need to do all these movements. This is why we developed all these movements. Think of a wild dolphin or an eagle. Dolphin sucks at climbing. And eagles, they suck at running. Why? Because it's not their natural movement. Because it's not the way their species evolved to move. That's not those are not the movement requirements for their species to survive. So like any other animal species, we as human beings had movement requirements that enabled us to survive. So we didn't have to pick one. Hey, who in the tribe wants to be the jumper? Who wants to be the runner? Who wants to be the climber? No, you don't, dude, you don't need to specialize just like all of us. You need to be able to do it all. Because when the whole tribe runs, you're not saying, well, I'm out. I'm the climber.
That's
all
funny.
right. I know. But so why is it that today we can have those specialized movements? Because it's a luxury of modern times. All sports, all physical activities, including bodybuilding, are only made possible because originally we have that natural movement potential, the whole scope of human natural movement abilities. So you can turn them into one sport, running. Oh, but then running can be turned into several sports. Trail running, ultra running, sprinting, hurdle. So now you mix running and jumping, etc., etc., etc. So you can specialize within a specialization. Lifting is the same. Is there a real correlation between Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting? It's all strength-based, but don't ask an Olympic weightlifting to lift like a powerlifter, and don't ask a powerlifter to look like
an Olympic lifter. Yeah.
All right. So wait, it's strength, right? So they should just be able to do the same. No, because of specificity. But again, football, tennis, what's tennis? You run and then you do what with a racket? When you it's like throwing or catching. You catch with a racket, you throw the racket. So it's throwing or catching with one arm and with a tool, a prop, a piece of equipment. But the skills that you're using are the same as a hunter-gatherer, especially a hunter, that would be running and maybe throwing something. Okay, that sport, tennis, is made possible because our ancestors hunted, running, and throwing things to survive in the wild. But the opposite isn't true. You aren't capable of moving naturally or because you do a specialized sport or because you do any specialized sport or any strength and conditioning activity, right? So when you realize this, how do you get back to the foundation, the baseline, the foundation that we all possess as a potential? Do you want to acknowledge that potential? Do you want to explore it and to unleash it? And then you can specialize. So that's why I say this is the physical education curriculum. All kids should learn in school. I wish I had learned that in school because it supports what all kids do naturally. Look at kids. It doesn't matter that they live in nature, they grow up close to nature, or in cities like today, most kids grow up in cities, in artificial environments. What is it that they do before they're taught any sports? They crawl under a table, they vault over a couch, they hang wherever they can hang. It doesn't matter that the environment is artificial. Their movement behavior is natural. Why? Because it's all practical, adaptable. They will even invent the stories, the scenarios that justify that they have to do the movements. We're gonna go there. We're gonna jump over. It's a volcano, and there's a pit, and if you fall in the pit, you die because there's venomous snakes in it. It's imaginary, it's true, but the movements they do, the efforts they have to go through, physical efforts, those are real. So what does that say? It's a program. It's universal. It's the same in Africa, Asia, North America, South America. It doesn't matter. Europe. All kids do the same. Why? Why is it that they're told to not do it? Because it's never the right place and never the right time.
Mm.
And then later on, we're like, I could be fit. I could become fit. And then by the time you start thinking about that, you've already been conditioned, if not brainwashed, into thinking that you got to run on an elliptical for cardio, use exercise machines for strength, and maybe through a little of a flexibility exercise in the mix, and then you'll be fit. What's up with that?
It's very different framework to what you're saying. So you've made look, I'm a convert, all right? So I've like I have literally
Join the tribe.
yeah, join the tribe. I've literally balanced between these worlds over the last probably 10 or 15 years, right? Moving well through jujitsu and even some type of flow practices, gymnastics type practices.
Getting there. You're getting there.
Yeah, getting in there. And then, I always come back because everybody needs huge delts and biceps. They look good. But you kind of go back and forth, right? But so I see the need, and you've actually laid out a really great case for the hierarchy of how fitness is actually transpired, right? The cause and effect, right? The only reason why modern day fitness is even possible is because there is this vast tradition of natural traditional movement that, because of our biomechanics and the way we are built, allows for those things to even happen.
Yep.
Right. So if, let's just say, somebody is like, Erwan, dude, you totally hit me right in the face. I can't move like a human being. I move like a turtle. I don't know how to move well. How does somebody get started? Like, how does somebody just like say, I'm embracing this. I need to move well as a human. And I tell people, like, hey, you need to go outside and you need to be outside in nature and move somewhat well, not because you should, but because you can, right? Because you actually have the ability. You should use it, otherwise you will lose it.
It's very enjoyable too.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's more than fitness, man. It actually is mental health and well-being. It's a lot. How does somebody get started? Like, how does this guy who's lifted weights for the last 30 years and he hurts when he bends over to tie his shoe, how does he get started moving better as a human being?
Okay, before I answer that question, number one mistake: do not plunk yourself in the woods and be a jackass there, because you're gonna look around, be like, oh yeah, there, I'm gonna jump there, and torn ACL, whatever, some bad injury because your body is not ready. You have no clue what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not a video game. You can hurt yourself. So, or it depends also on your levels of health. You could go there and have the time of your life. So you can also scratch what I just said and be like, I'm going to go in the woods and I'm going to figure it out. And if it works for you, great. If you need instruction, if you really don't know what to do and how to do it, because you may think, oh yeah, I'm in nature. So now what? Okay, so I can run, I can jump, I can balance. Let me find like a fallen tree. I can do all these things. That's great. Again, there are techniques. There are techniques for jumping. There are techniques for landing, depending on the environment. What kind of obstacle are we talking about? And same for balancing, and same for climbing, and same, running, and all of that. So we have a website called MoveNat, MoveNat, MoveNat.com. And there, these are all the resources you can look into to start learning, to start your natural movement journey. You have certification workshops with us. Level 1, start with a level 1. You're like, well, I don't want to teach this. No, maybe not. But when you learn to teach to others, you'll learn how to teach yourself.
True.
So basically, you do the level 1, you learn for yourself. You may never teach this to anybody, though you could. You could teach your neighbors, you could teach your parents, your kids, whatever, colleagues. So we have those events. We have local MCTs, so we can look at our map where you can find a local person who is certified with us. We have a few licensed gyms that you could join. You can learn through e-courses. We have a number of e-courses. We have PDFs. And I also wrote a whole book called The Practice of Natural Movement, which a lot of people have been inspired by. So now you can see a lot of those movements that me and my team years ago were the only one to show and teach, and now like just all over the Instagram, which is great. That's part of the growth, part of the success, part of the positive influence into the world. That's exactly what I wanted. Yeah, you can come to MoveNat.com and look into all these options that we have. That's all.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, I've been following it a long time, man. So let me ask you another question. I'm going to beat this one. Okay, moving well, we've got all that, like, and when you talked about, when we first started talking, you talked about like sun exposure, rewilding, intermittent fasting, and all this kind of stuff that you kind of brought to the scene. How does this natural movement and this health, how do we couple that with let's say diet? How do we couple that? Because you've got a very specific framework of thinking, right? You've got this tradition of humanity that is informing this movement practice today. How does that now translate over to diet? How does that translate over to how do I live my life kind of things? Do you explore those things as well?
We have in the form of education, we have specialized on the movement side, on the physicality side, on the real world physical capability. But it's true that from early on, I've always, in my first workshops that I did in West Virginia, in the woods of West Virginia in 2009, I was educating people about nutrition, about sunlight, about breathing, about the importance of sleep, etc., etc., etc. So, do we tell people what to eat? No. But do we tell people how to live? No. We don't tell people how to live. We can't even tell you, hey, you have to train natural movement. That's obvious, but it's up to you. But if you understand how important it is, then it's a great starting point. If you start, because where do people start? Let's talk about what is a modern lifestyle. There are conventions to it. There's a lot of typically unconscious conformity to it. Yeah.
Very much so.
People don't know. They are programmed to live a lifestyle without every question in it. Some people, they still drink industrial orange juice and granola every morning since they're kids.
It's so true, man.
Rather, they've never questioned that, and they're 40 years old. They've never questioned, hey, maybe, do I really need to spend all that time playing video games? And I'm not saying that you want to completely change all and every aspect of your lifestyle overnight. But here's the observation. Modern lifestyle is based on normalcy, means it's unexamined, it's not questioned, it's normal. And that normalcy is a silent killer. So if you're wondering why maybe you don't look good, you don't feel good, you don't perform good in your life, but you've never ever examined anything beyond maybe, well, I'm taking this supplements, multi-mineral supplement. I was hoping it would give me a boost in energy. You never question that you go to bed late, that your light environment is blue light all around, even when the sun is down. You've not questioned the fact that you have accustomed yourself to sleep only 6 hours a night when you could easily sleep 8 or 9 hours a night. You've not questioned the fact that you are, aside from the 2 weekly sessions you do in a gym to exercise, where basically you sit on some exercise machine that tells you exactly what to do, the rest of the time you sit all day in a car, in a cubicle, on a couch. Haven't questioned that. You haven't questioned that even though you may take those specific supplements, the rest of your food intake is junk, etc., etc., etc. So maybe you are one of those people who've never ever questioned that your lifestyle is very conventional and it's hurting you. It's causing your health to go like this. It's causing even your mental issue, emotional issues, or psychological issues, whatever you call those. Because biologically, because that's what we are, we're a body. At least physically, we're a body. Maybe spiritually, we're something else. But we're a biological unit of life. That's what everybody is. That biological unit has needs. And that needs not just to fill up your stomach with whatever is there until the next time you're hungry. So if your whole environment is artificial, and I'm not saying that there are plenty of conveniences that are really awesome about the modern life. I'm not saying, hey, go back to the jungle right now. That's where you're going to thrive. Take off all your clothes, ditch all your belongings, and that's the way.
Some people might like that, dude. Some people might like
Some
really
people,
get down on that. Let's get naked in the woods stuff. That's kind of weird. Let's go.
yes, let's go. And they come back 48 hours later, and eat Doritos and play
Yeah,
video games.
traumatized.
Traumatized, never want this experience ever again. And by the way, you need to know that, animals that are born in captivity, you don't just release them in the wild like that. They're gonna die quickly. And that goes for human beings as well. And by the way, the point is not even to go back to nature in the sense of living 100% 24/7 in nature. The point is to make ourselves healthy, keep ourselves healthy based on natural laws, natural principles that are timeless, that you cannot reinvent your biology. Your biology needs movement. Your biology needs sunlight. Your biology needs sleep. Your biology needs healthy food that is clean. So if your environment and your behaviors are toxic, then you suffer. You don't even know what health is. And you can't possibly know because you never actually were healthy in your life. You may have had a lot of moments where you don't experience symptoms or not aggravated symptoms, or maybe you have a lot of symptoms, but you just got accustomed to them. So you forgot there are symptoms. You forgot that you have that mild headache all the time. You forgot that you have those skin issues all the time. You forget that you have that insomnia. You forget that you have those digestive problems. You forget that you have those pains in your body. You forget that they're there. Like, I'm pretty healthy. I'm not sick. Well, actually, how do you know? Because you've never actually experienced your optimally healthy self, have you? All right. So once you realize this, and that's already like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
If you never ask yourself, wow. So you are indeed thinking, where do I start? Because you're not going to change everything overnight. So typically people start somewhere. that can be, they start considering, am I eating healthy? Others like, should I exercise my body? Others like, should I do some breath work, cold plunging, meditation? Uh, they're having those moment, and then start to get into that, and they're like, wow, that's great. It does make me feel good when I stop eating that, when I start eating that, when I add 1 hour sleep, when I go to bed earlier, when whatever it is that they're doing, that is an attempt to get healthier. And once you get there, you start to unravel the whole scope, all the pillars, the fundamentals of a healthy biology, and therefore of a healthy lifestyle. Sleep, sun exposure, movement, nutrition, breathing, etc., etc., etc. So where do you start? Well, is MoveNat providing the whole education? No, but we do encourage people to look into all of that. What we teach specifically is natural movement and efficiency in those natural movements. Everybody has those natural movement abilities, but not everybody has acquired the skills. So that's what we teach specifically. But I've been talking about the whole natural lifestyle forever, even before I moved to the US, even before I created MoveNat. It's been since I'm 17 that I've been talking about that all around me all the time. I'm 52 years old now, so it's not my first rodeo. And well, you can see the results. I'm not looking that bad. Being
Look
52,
awesome, dude.
I can also tell you I don't have all these injuries and pains and whatever people have. I can remove very, very well. And so proof of work. Um, so yeah, it's not just movement. There's much more to it. But we've been inspiring people to look at the whole picture, not just one compartment.
Yeah, I like that. I love the way you put it because I think of it the same way. Is there is an entire there's an entire learning course of learning that has to happen. I believe being healthy, especially in today's society, is a skill, and you have to require those skills because we weren't taught those things
No.
from the beginning, right? Like we were eating canned vegetables and this all, like just whatever else, we're eating microwave food.
We can
And
call it a centralized lifestyle, Adam.
yeah.
It's all centralized. I mean, it's like global. It's like conformity to those conventions.
Mhm.
The way we live, the way we eat, the way we work, the way we think, the way we behave, all of that. What we believe is true. It's all centralized. Oh, I have a symptom. Okay, I'll go get a drug. If the drug doesn't work, then I'll get cut at some point. Yeah. So being drugged all the time by big pharma, normal. Eating junk, going to the mall, consuming, normal. Etc., etc., etc. So again, it's not a judgment, it's an observation. It's a centralized lifestyle. It's not a natural lifestyle. So you may want to start that journey of naturalizing your lifestyle. Start to think about it, start to read about it, start to experiment a change, maybe 2 3 changes, see how it works for you, how it makes you feel, etc., etc. And then there's no, it's limitless. Ultimately, you can find yourself camping in the outdoors, go in the woods and move, take off your shoes, get in the sun, get in the rain, dive in a river stream, fast, breathe, meditate, chant, live,
Mm.
thrive.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I love all because I feel like I've been trying to naturalize myself more and more as I age, just slowly learning. Like even yesterday I was doing some sprints And I was like, you know, I just don't move like I used to. I probably need to work on these mechanics more often, right? You know, because I'm not young, but I'm not old enough that sprinting should be difficult. You know what I mean? So, but what do you think, just from your learning over the time? I know you guys, MoveNat doesn't teach this, but what, just real quick, what are your basics on nutrition? What are the principles that guide you on nutrition? And like lifestyle, what are just those basic principles? I would imagine they probably align with mine pretty well and what I've been teaching as well.
The principles are to eat locally, seasonally, to cook at home, eat what you know you have touched and you know they are. Eat food that they're not made of ingredients. The moment you start to have a food that is made of ingredients, that's not food, that's food, but that's a food product. It means it's a compound of ingredients, it's made in a factory. The energy is not the same at all. And you may have pollutants in it, like molecules that should never be in your body to begin with, that your body will have to detoxify from. That can also be just overall or over time harm your body, make you sick. All right, so there's that. And then personally, I eat mostly meat products or animal products. I don't eat a lot of carbs. And then what else? What's important about food? To eat during the day, not at night, and to spend a lot of time without eating. Means all your food intake could be taken within a 4 to 8 hours window, not from morning to evening or late in evening, and then even at night, like a snack at 11 p.m. and then you wake up at 2 o'clock, you eat something, or even if you don't wake up, but the next thing you know, you're up at 7 in the morning, you start eating right away. Do you ever give your body a break from metabolism? And it's the same with meditation. Do you ever give your mind a break? And it's the same with movement or physical idleness. Most people are physically idle 24/7 because they sit all day and then they lie down all day. So do you ever give yourself a physical break by actually moving? Because if you were moving most of your days, then the break would be, all right, I'm sitting now, or I'm laying down. I'm giving myself a break. So now the break is the other way around. See, it's all a matter of perspective. If your perspective on anything never changes, then you can expect that your behaviors and your choices never change. If you're happy with the results, then don't question anything. When you start to be unhappy about anything, it means that, I don't like the results. I don't like the experience. I want a different result. And what's the result? The experience I'm having and how pleasant or unpleasant it is. It's always boils down to that. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Or do you question things? Do you want to go for something better? Like, yeah, I'll feel great in my body. My energy, not so great. Okay, I'm gonna take fish oil. I'm gonna take iron. I'm gonna take vitamins. I'm gonna take an energy drink. Maybe. Well, maybe you should just sleep more. Hello. Or maybe you should just be physically active so you have energy. I mean, to get energy, I need to first spend energy. Yes, that's right. See, so what's the cause? What's the symptom? What's the cause to your symptom? Is it one cause? Is it several causes? What is it that you want to change? Do you have education to understand what's going on in your body, in your physiology, in your emotional self, in your mental self when you're experiencing those unpleasant moments? I can't digest well. Oh, I feel foggy. Oh, whatever it is. I'm low in energy, or I'm too agitated, can't find the switch off. Okay, those are symptoms. What's causing this? If you know thyself and the universe, you should know right away, like, oh, I know why. I ate that, or I didn't sleep good last night, or looks like I'm fighting something. My immune system is down, or oh, I got that thing, that issue that's bothering me. I'm trying to not think about it, but it's working my mind in the background. All right, so if you don't know yourself, then you have no clue. And what are you going to go for? The quick fixes. Give me the energy drink. Let me completely numb my mind by binging on shows, 10 episodes in a row. Because otherwise I would be bored. Maybe I would be sad or depressed.
Mm.
So I don't want to face those unpleasant experiences because I do not understand their causes and I do not understand, I don't know the solutions. I don't know how to address this. I don't know why I'm depressed. I don't know why I'm sad. I don't know why I'm low in energy. I don't know why my body doesn't feel good. I don't know why I need to sleep so much, or I don't know why I can't sleep as much as I like, etc., 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 etc. Where do you start? It's a lifetime journey. There's a lot to learn. So start somewhere. And I can certainly tell you this, when you look at your biological needs, so movement, sunlight, sleep, nutrition, you got this down really good, then let's see how what's left of your mental, emotional issues in your life. Because it's very likely that they won't be as bad as you thought they were once your body is satisfied and has regained vitality. And then you can start to understand other, deeper issues of your psyche, your heart, or your soul.
I love it, man. Dude, you basically summed up most of what I try to teach. So, um, really thank you. We'll probably end it there. We're running long on time here, but there's a couple things. Where can people find you? I know you said, is it movenat.com?
Yes.
And then do you have
Breath,
any other
breath.
places?
Yeah, no, okay. So I think you're talking about breath hold work, which we have briefly mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I was also teaching long breath holding through meditation, or that I was actually teaching meditation through long breath holding. And so this is a method that I have coined as breath hold work. It's also something that I teach through an e-course on breathholdwork.com. And I teach people what I call, master your inner experience. Because when you hold your breath, you can understand easily that you become very agitated quickly. It's unpleasant quickly. So how could you even meditate through this? What can you do about it? What's going on in your mind? Does your mind know itself well enough to understand what it is going through and how to handle it? When I can hold my breath for 8 minutes, it's not just because I have extremely large lungs or I do not feel pain or have extreme willpower and these kind of things. It's because I meditate,
Mm.
which means that the mind that I am is able to choose how it is going to behave and experience this moment. And that is a skill that can be learned so that it can be acquired.
Well, you've piqued my interest. I'll tell you that. Maybe we can get you back on and we can talk specifically about breath hold work in particular. Um, because I think there's a lot of correlation that can be used there with one. embracing difficult tasks, finding a way to calm the mind through difficult things, finding a way to channel and control who I am in difficult times, even when they're self-induced. You know what I mean? There's probably a lot to learn there. I could imagine that would translate just to life in general, just how moving well translates to other things in life. I would imagine breath hold work plays a considerable role the same way. Would you agree?
Of course, I agree. Of course, I also agree that there's a lot to learn. And of course, I would also agree with the fact that the mind is powerful, and the mind is powerful in making us to thrive or in making us to be and feel miserable.
Mm.
So when the mind knows itself, it can do wonders for you, for itself, for how you live this life with more contentment, more composure, more patience, all the qualities that we all wish we had, as opposed to all the issues that we all know we sometimes go through. We're impatient, we're insecure, we're agitated, we're mean, we're whatever it is, we're depressed, we have no energy. All these are also not just physiological outcomes of the physiology. There are outcomes of the mind itself and how the mind believes its own experience should be or can be. So we can talk about a lot of those aspects,
I would love that.
beliefs that limit us. How do we not just have insights about that, considerations? Oh, yeah, I like what you said. That's interesting. Okay, fine. How do you practice that so it becomes a reality? That's the most important, because otherwise, it's intellectual masturbation.
Yeah, knowledge is only power if it's
Well, don't you think that
practical.
this and that and that? Yeah, sure, sure. We can talk about all that. And it's important to talk. It's important to have considerations. But ultimately, what's the most important is that you do, is that you apply, you practice, and then you experience, and then you become.
Agreed.
That is what is really important.
Agreed. Man, that's awesome stuff. Erwan, you are a wealth of insights here, my guy. I really appreciate your time. We'll definitely link all of your websites and everything, your Instagram and us into the description. We really appreciate you being here, and we hope that it's been fun for you. This is my puppy Lulu, by the way. She's
Yeah, I knew that some creature was there.
yeah,
Suspected it was
yeah.
the,
She's part of the family.
of
She's like
course.
he's talking too much. He won't shut up. Let me take a nap. So
Sometimes my kids are with me, so we're like go across or we come and ask something. I'm like, hey, it's life.
this is my life, man. I
This
can't
is
help
not a
that.
this is a show, but it's also life. This is a show, but it's real.
100%. So
Yeah.
thank you, Erwan, for being with us. We really appreciate your insights, your knowledge, and the fact that you've dedicated your life towards one, learning and growing, but then also passing that information on to help others learn and grow. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And likewise, I could say exactly the same about you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being inspiration to other people, to inspire them and educate them how to live a better life and
Thank
be
you.
a better experience of themselves.
Thank you,
That's where
man.
that.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
work to get you back on, okay?
With pleasure, anytime.
All right, we'll talk soon, man.
Talk to you soon.
Hey there, guys. I want to take a quick second to highlight a partner that we've been working with lately, Upgraded Formulas. You can see them at upgradedformulas.com. I have personally been taking their upgraded T formula to support natural testosterone production. I've noticed it after a few months. I've noticed I've had a bit more mental clarity. My rest is a little better, and I'm recovering a bit better from my workouts, which was actually surprising. So I'm able to exercise just a bit more. I love to exercise, so that's a bonus for me. Women can also take this because healthy testosterone levels in women help with fat loss, mental clarity, muscle gain, things like that. And also, the estrogen and testosterone go together hand in hand. If you support one, the other does pretty well as well. So definitely check them out. Also, they do something really great. I want to highlight a hair mineral analysis where you send them a little chunk of your hair and they will let you know if you're deficient in anything or if you have too much of something like heavy metals in your system. So what this does is this is a great thing to help give you data on your health so that you can make decisions. None of this is a miracle cure. All of it is just information to help you make better decisions around your health and supplementation. All right, so really check them out. They're doing some really great quality. They're seeing some huge results, and I believe they're going to have some clinical studies coming out pretty soon. So check them out, upgradedformulas.com. Use the code ADAM10 to get a 10% discount today.